Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual Underground podcast. As always, my name is Dan Reeves. I am your host. Just a little background on this. A lot of this podcast, if you go back and listen, is based in 12-step recovery and recovery in general. What I've kind of found is that most people are recovering from something or another. In my world, it was dope and booze, but it seems that life just contains some healing work that seems to be almost mandatory, or you don't do it and you stay stuck. But I certainly found that's been important to me. And so if you go back and listen, you'll hear a lot of 12-step recovery stuff. It seems to have evolved into a lot of people coming to the podcast just are bringing their brand of light to the world. And my podcast here gets to be a spotlight on that light, and it's a really cool thing to see all these people bringing all this goodness to the world, forces for good. As I say a lot, is that if you keep your eyes in certain places, it looks like the world is pretty dark. But if you'll look through my lens, you also see a lot of people bringing light. And I do believe the old adage is the light will end up persevering. So my guest today is JClay. He's a spiritual rap artist, according to this sheet here. And I don't like to do a lot of telling people who you are because you are your subject matter expert, and I certainly don't want to cast any aspersions or get anything wrong in that regard. Doing okay today?
Oh yeah, I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. Yeah, ready to see where this leads, how this
Yeah.
unfolds. Yeah.
Said you just got done doing some producing some music. Is that
No,
what
no,
I
no, I'm producing
understood?
programming. Yeah.
Programming,
Had
like
on a
computer
different hat.
programming.
Yeah, like programming. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that what you do on as like a for piece of your
It
profession?
kind of, yeah, I'm all over the place. Like I do music, I do programming, I do narrations. I just do stuff.
Do a lot of
I
things,
don't
yeah.
like to necessarily quantify myself as one thing or another, but for the purposes of this, like I am a spiritual rapper. I make music to help people heal, but it's a lot of other things as we all have.
Yep, yep. Yeah, that's that old question of what do you do? That's a trap.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you got a little while?
Yeah.
We can start talking about what we do. So how did you give me some background on how you ended up being here with me today and what brought you into this arena that we're talking about today?
Yeah, so I was your typical music loving person trying to make it in the music business, regular rapper, rap with a group and things, and just crazy stuff kept happening where it led to failures where I just couldn't understand like what's happening, what's going on. Like everything was going right, everything was smooth, and just things that couldn't be explained. So I always looked within. I always tried to find out, okay, what am I bringing to the situation? What do I need to change? And I would always find something. I would find something, I would tweak it, come back out for things to just repeat and repeat. But at the same time, I was always searching for those deep answers to just life questions. Not even nothing to do with rap, nothing to do with making it, but just, why are we here? Why does this exist? What causes happiness? How can I always have what I want? Like why do I not why does there have to be a delay? And in that searching, I just to keep it short and smooth, I found some stuff. I found some answers. I started applying the answers because it's one thing to be faced with the knowledge, but you have to experience it for yourself to know if it holds any weight. And like that came through, for example, through A Course in Miracles, which was
Mhm.
very life-changing for me. And great magical things started to just happen since then, like more happiness, more joy, even spiritual happenings like psychic dreams. Trying to think, the feeling of bliss. I've had that a couple times. Just cool synchronicities is the best way I can say it. It's almost like magic right now. So
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. So you've just always been kind of like a spiritual seeker. And that's or like for my case, I come from a place where I had to hit the bottom before I could bounce back up.
yeah,
Not everybody needs to do that, but it seems that most people do kind of have that darkness of the night period or something that kind of changes their trajectory. They're going, this isn't working. Let me try to look for something that is working.
yeah. I'll say that I've always been a naturally happy person. Uh, And I've always loved to just understand how things work. Like my curiosity, like I need to know how this works. I have to figure it out. And when I wasn't happy, when I had experiences of just non-happiness, I'm like, something needs to change. This is not life. I'm like, what's the point of living like this? Like, I don't see how people do it. I refuse. I probably I make a joke how in 2013 I felt depression for the first time. It lasted 5 minutes, and that was the worst 5 minutes. I'm not trying to make light of depression at all. I just knew that, nah, this is not either. If life feels like this, I'm not gonna do it. I need to pivot in some kind of way. But it wasn't until 2018 that I kind of expanded with the Course in Miracles and different spiritual tools.
Yeah, what brought you to the Course in Miracles?
So I was watching a video on YouTube, and somebody had mentioned like some spiritual channels that they look at. So and I was again I was searching, and I'll say this to preface. At the time, I read the Bible over and over, studied it, debated it, had my own interpretations of it that weren't the norm, and I just always wanted clarity on it. And so when this YouTube video I was watching, the stuff that the person was talking about, I know that they didn't have a church background or a Bible background, but they were coming to the same conclusions that I had. So I'm curious, like, well, where did they get this info? So I went to the other channels, and this one lady was reading from a book called Jesus, My Autobiography. And I
Hmm.
was like, what? How? My autobiography? How did Jesus write an autobiography? And we'd never heard of this. So she read an excerpt from when he got baptized, and how Jesus described him getting baptized was aligned with how my interpretation of how I saw the personality of Jesus, which again, that I don't feel is was widely accepted. Like for example, when I hear other people depict Jesus, it's like, "Hi, I'm Jesus. The light, all is love," and it's very boring. But I don't know. I always felt like he had a sense of humor. He was chill. He was just like, that's what you want to do it. You know, if you want to have fun, have fun. If you want to do this, do this. Like you don't have to make a big deal. And so, but anyway, that personality shined through. So I got this book, Jesus My Autobiography, and I read it as both a skeptic and somebody that wanted to believe. The belief won over. Like the things that was said in that book, I couldn't refute it in any way. It aligned when I tried to test it. I'm like, this is crazy. And in that book, he said, that's why I wrote A Course in Miracles. What? So let me look this up. Different author, different publisher, and but they're both were channeled. They both channeled Jesus, and I didn't know anything about channeling at that point, and so that
Hmm.
opened my mind. And ever since then, I had to change my life completely.
So channeling. Well, first off, to come back, it's interesting. I get to talk to a lot of people, and like, there's so many different belief systems. Everybody's kind of got some way that has fit into their box, or their God-shaped hole, or the
Yeah.
various kinds of things we use the words to talk about that. And it's interesting that many of them work, right? At
Yeah.
some level for different people, and what works for you may not work for me and vice versa, but what works for you will work for some other people and
Yeah.
vice versa. You know what I'm going. And so it's funny that it seems to be, and at least the way that I took it in, and I struggle with like what I was taught versus what I received and the difference there. Did I really take in the teaching that was being, or was that my perception of it that somehow or another I internalized, and they didn't put it on me, you
Yeah.
know? It's just the way that I ended up taking it. But one thing that was like this hard line thing of like, this is the way, and there's only one, you got to be on one side of this line or the other. And my experience is, and especially in 12 step recovery, as we say, your own conception of a higher power or your own conception of God, that I watched lots of people uh and when I'm always real careful with this word, because it always, here's again, it looks like a dollar sign to my brain sometimes when I say success, and that's not what I mean really. I mean more of a happy, fruitful, satisfying, prosperous life, something that, and again, I'm not even talking dollar signs, although it does seem that tends to come with it too, in a
Yeah.
sense, but it's never the goal. That's never these people. That never was my goal. But it turned out to where I'm okay. I'm better than I would have thought I would be, and these blessings keep on happening. as long as I like continue to stay open to it, the
Yeah.
flow, that stream of life kind of thing.
Right. And to your point about the like the truth that works for people and things, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't creating God. You know what I mean? Like somebody may say God does this, God does that, but they're seeing through the lens of their beliefs. And in a sense, they're creating a God that they're holding up. And so one of the things that I found out about truth, right, that seems obvious now, but one truth has no opposite. So if what's true is true for all, no matter who's looking at it, no matter when they look at it, that's absolute truth. But if something like if I say I don't know, something that's personal to me, that's not technically truth. It's my interpretation of events,
That's a good point.
but it's right, but it's not like true truth. And what's interesting about that is that like we can experience anything, whether it's true or not, based on our beliefs. So it's best to try to, as much as possible, align our beliefs with that true truth, which is like love. Like love just is. Love is the component within everything. Even if people like, nah, people don't love blah blah blah. It's a call for love, or they might love being chaotic, even though that's not, even though chaos is not necessarily love, but the love for chaos is that grouper of all things, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, and and then to try to offset all the training that we get over our lifetime too, that is not necessarily truth. Uh, and you know, um, like for instance, people will say, we'll look at like the bad things that's going on in the world and say, how could there be a God if this is going on and that going on and all this? And it's tough to wrestle through.
And to that, because I used to have those same questions, like, if God is good and God said all is good and all came from God, where does this evil come from? And then I realized a couple of things. So one, some people bring up the video game analogy, like the Mario Brothers. Everybody knows the Mario Brothers. Like if Mario dies, it's not a big deal. It's a game. It's just a game. Like the essence of the character, which is us controlling that Mario, is still all right. The same with us. Like if this avatar, if we leave our consciousness from this avatar, we still go on being conscious of whatever we choose to be conscious of. So one is not that serious, and but two, like this physical realm allows us to play out any belief system we want at all. And so the people who may say this, why is there evil in the world? Is because they're defining things as evil, and thus they're tuning their system, so to speak, to see evil. So it's more like metaphysics than anything, but you see more of that which you judge and announce and bring to this moment.
Yeah, the real simple thing is like if you buy a white Toyota, all of a sudden you will see a lot of white Toyotas everywhere.
Yes.
It's the same dynamic that you kind of find what you're looking for. And there's the yin and yang too, right? I mean, you got to have that. There's got to be sorrow or you can't appreciate joy. There's got to
Right.
be dark or you can't appreciate light.
Yeah.
And there's something to do with this good and evil that's somewhat similar, I believe.
Yeah.
It's just it's just no different than gravity and some other forces of of nature.
Yeah.
They just are, and for me to try to figure out what I want, I do try to like eliminate and minimize where it is around me whenever possible. And I think we're all called to somewhat to do that, to try and bring harmony and truth and that into our perimeters into our circles of influence.
Yeah. Yeah. And to that, so like even evil, or let's use light and dark. Um, I believe it's the same thing, just different parts of it. Like if you were to look at a stick or something, one end is light, one end is dark. And what we consider dark might be a subset of that light. I'm not sure how to put it into words. Like I see it in my mind where like in comparison, we enjoy light because it's the top part of light and it shines and it's out there. But that bottom part of light, which we now quantify as darkness, like it's still light, but it's just we prefer this other part. So, like you said, I agree that you need the polarity to appreciate the other polarity that you prefer, but that doesn't mean we have to always go to that. Like once we say what we prefer, we can just stay there for the rest of our existence if we choose to. So yeah, it's just an interesting thing.
Yeah, there's a term in recovery that people will say you're on the pink cloud. You ever heard that?
I haven't.
It's like when the fuzz comes off of you, because you don't realize how bad you actually feel. And then all of a sudden, you've got that stuff and you've detoxed and it's out of your system and some life is going good. And it's like an overemphasized goodness, it feels
Yeah.
so good compared to the way you did feel. And I would hear people, well, and a common thing around 12-step recovery specifically is people will say, now don't get used to that. And like the friends that I have are we're more like, no, I'm gonna stay used to this,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hang on to this. I'm realizing life is not gonna be all rainbows and sunshine, but I can certainly keep my eye on the rainbow and the sunshine more so and pay attention to that goodness rather than start focusing my energy. Because if I do, it's just like eating bad food to me when I give myself a bad spiritual diet, it affects my being no
Yeah.
different than when I eat crappy food that I feel
Yeah.
bad when it doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. Like I even though I feel like I'm a pretty happy person, every now and then things go so unbelievably right that a part of me is like, this can't I can't maintain this. Like, and I've noticed that, like, why am I trying to change this? Like, I'm experiencing this and I'm loving this. Why am I now in this loving moment trying to bring something that is not here, something that I know I don't want? And it's funny how our brain will do that if we allow it to. So like you
Yeah.
said, like, yeah, I want to maintain this. I'm going to believe that this feeling is going to stay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a funny thing when we have this propensity, it seems like to be thinking the other shoe's going to drop. It's like, and what, I had a podcast last night with a musician and a voice coach and she was, this old saying of, and I'll just put it in these words, God brought me this far. He didn't bring me here to drop me off. This is not the end of the bus ride,
I love that. Yeah.
and sometimes it feels like it might be, sometimes you feel like, oh, well, that good period has just come to an end.
Yeah.
And my experience is it does not have to,
Right.
uh,
Yeah. I, I've
even
even
though,
made a game of like, no matter what's the worst news somebody can hear or something happens, I find a positive spin to it now, and it's actually fun. Like, it makes things much better where my mind doesn't go somewhere it doesn't need to go.
yeah, I tend to too, now and again, I'll hear people listen to podcasts or whatever, and I'll hear people, and I don't want to talk about who it is, but a particular guy that I listen to a bit, I'm noticing he always is spinning the stuff to the dark. Everything he puts that spin on stuff. And I'm finding that I'm not liking to listen to him. I'm starting to where I'm like, he's rubbing off on me, and I don't like it. And really I didn't notice it until just actually recently, the last week or two of listening to him. I'm like, why is he always turning whatever his guests are bringing to him like to the negative? It's
Yeah.
like that propensity to do that. And it doesn't seem that he's like that's really in his nature. It's like almost like some kind of record skipping kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
that's got hung up on him. Hopefully he'll see that and course correct.
Yeah.
That's another thing about life seems to be. It's just another where like if you're trying to sail across the ocean, you're driving down the road, you cannot hold a straight line. You have to constantly course correct. So being open and watching and being cognizant of when I'm drifting one way or the other and making the appropriate corrections.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so what kind of rap did you initially do? Did you do like the down and dirty kind of like the,
Not so
no,
like I said, I've always been a happy, positive person. I didn't even curse in rap lyrics and stuff, but I still may say some sexually explicit stuff back in the day. It was more party, it was more egoic rap, like, I'm the best. I see things the best way, better than you. If you don't do things like me, you suck. Just pretty like stuff like that. For lack of better words, I'm trying to say it in a tame
I
way.
got you. Yeah.
But what switched was I started to notice even the pattern in that. So, for an example, favorite quote ever, watch your thoughts for they become your words, watch words for they become your actions, actions become habits, habits character, character destiny, which changed my life because the way I am, I want to understand things. I'm like, that can't be true. My thoughts can no, there's no way it can just determine my destiny. It can't be that easy. And so I traced it and I saw the parallels to it and I was like, wow, okay, let me let me look at my own thoughts. Like let me see what's there. And I was shocked. I was shocked at how much I complained about stuff. I was shocked by how judgmental I was, how negative I was in certain situations. And it stopped me in my tracks. And again, that was even before the spiritual stuff. So, but when I came across that phrase, I started to empower myself more, think more positive thoughts about myself. But then with where the spiritual came in, when I came to that, I realized the flaw in just empowering myself because I was separating myself from my environment and those around me when I could do the same thing. Like if my thoughts lead to everything, I can think not only well for myself, I can think well for everyone, for everything ever, my entire environment, everything around me, within me. And so when I noticed that, I knew I needed to change the music because you can replay music in your head all day without even realizing it. And it actually does things because it alters your thoughts in certain ways. Like what you said about the podcaster you don't want to listen to anymore because it will affect you in some way if you're not fully conscious of it. And so I had good songs I just had to delete, like just because they were good, they were unreleased, and I just didn't want to sow seeds of that in my environment. I wanted to make the world a better place, like people would say. And not even just for being like all super humble, just for myself. I know that giving and receiving are one. Since I want the best for myself, I wanted to give the best. I want to continue to give the best for everything I do. And so that definitely made that switch in music for me.
Yeah, very cool. That's that being cognizant of the energy that you're putting out into the world, and that's another one of the things. It's like the more positive I exude, and there's a thing where, there is some fake it till you make it. There is some truth in that. There can be. Sometimes that's that'll give you a bump start. So I don't necessarily mean that, but of just faking it because you can feel that, and the people around you will recognize that that's not sincere. Also, that it's not real. But when it is real, you actually have that impact on the other people, and that's brings that's where you put that joy out there, and it comes back on you. I got a good buddy in 12 Step Recovery who says he sloshes love and joy all over everybody. And the cool thing about it is when he does that, it splashes back on him.
Yeah. Yeah, because everything you see is now love and light because that's what you gave. Or, but if you give harsh criticisms, everything you see is something to complain about. And it all starts with us. Like what's out there, it doesn't matter. We only see that which we bring to the moment, to the situation.
Yeah. Uh, there's a couple bullet points on this thing that talks about science and spirituality and music and the connection and that kind of in those things. And I understand like science, like music is a science. There's something to that for sure. But like, how do you weave those three things like that together?
So it's the way I weave it is intention in a sense. Like I could do it programmatically if I wanted to, but it's more intention what I bring to it. So what I found was again, like we spoke about channeling and turning a channel, putting on different hats and different things. When I would write music, even now and before the spiritual shift, um, I would get profound thoughts based on whatever I was writing about, whether it was about oneness and love and joy and happiness or being egoic, being better than someone. Like I would get profound thoughts about that. So it's like scientifically everything is out there, like everything that could ever exist exists, but again that which we're conscious of, that which we intend, that which we bring to the situation or moment, we tune into and we embody that, we bring that into our character and we share it. So it's more so with anything we do is just what's your intention behind it. And that's not easy to see if you don't realize that you're not you're not what you say, you're not your experiences. Like you're something greater than that that can even observe, like, oh, I'm outside of this whole world where I that this is not even me. What I'm thinking right now, that's not me. That's just a thought floating that I can choose to accept or not accept. And so yeah, it's all woven beautifully in science and everything.
Uh, what help me understand the spiritual rap. What are you? Well,
Yeah.
help me.
So okay, so spiritual rap is basically I'm helping people remove the blocks to love that they have. Like I'm helping people see things in a new light so that they can make better decisions. Like one of my most popular lines from my song Let Go is only the weak have enemies and the strong have inner peace. And
Mm,
so it makes you think because we see these people as strong who have all these fights and do all these things and would kill somebody or something. We say, oh, they're strong-minded or tough or something. But no, that you're weak because you would have inner peace. You wouldn't have any enemies. You would be so, nobody would want to mess with you. Not to test you, but just that person is very peaceful. Like I'm not going to disturb that. Is your peace is so powerful that all really is love. So it's just little things like that, like little cracks that we don't see of beliefs we hold that prevent us from living the life we want to live.
yeah, I'm always a little bit like I don't know. I kind of do this thing off the hair of my chinny chin chin, and sometimes I'm looking like, and I purposely stay out of like learning about somebody before I get to talk to them. I found that I will get some preconceived notions when I go out and do a little research on somebody before they're a guest. I want to know a little bit, I don't want to come in just completely
Yeah,
blind to it. But I haven't gone out to because I've got a bunch of links to music and stuff that I will definitely be putting also in the show notes if you'd like that.
yes,
But I haven't gone out and listened to any of it yet because sometimes I think that it'll bend me, and then when I meet you, it's kind of a force in front of me that kind of will stop me from getting to know really what you're about because I'm carrying something that I heard into the conversation with me.
yeah.
Um,
And it, can I speak on that?
yeah.
So what's cool about that, like, fortunately for me growing up, my first impressions were wrong of everybody. Like who I thought somebody was wrong. So I learned not to trust that. But even further, like as I continue to practice being more in the moment, it's almost like a person's past just doesn't matter. Like I've seen me share something of myself with someone that I've been friends with for years, and I see them recalibrate my whole story, like my whole past, my future, what that means. And I saw them shift in the behavior towards me just because something. And it's like we shouldn't let the past taint the present unless we're fine with believing that the past is a fixed thing. Like if we want to be free to create a new always, we can't give that energy to others. We have to be okay with, hey, I'm accepting you right now, who you are perfectly. I'm not gonna hold you to that past, even though it could be what society thinks is good. But it's like, no, just be present with me now. Don't let my accolades change you, or maybe my perceived shortcomings change me in your eyes, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, being in recovery, that can kind of be a tricky line there because I'm pretty open about it, and if I'm not open, it actually prevents me from having some opportunities to help some other people. So, but then again, there's also positions where it's just not such a great thing to get out on the table. It may be especially not at first, because that drug addict kind of label or alcoholic kind of label instantly can bend somebody's thoughts. And, that's not what I'm doing today. I'm
Yeah.
a long way away from that today.
Yeah, it was funny about recovery. Not funny, but I have a line that says, you're not in recovery, you're in uncovery. Because again, like we've piled all these judgments and thoughts on us to make us believe we're something that we're not. When we uncovered this light, that we're golden almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I can't, it's not coming to me, but there's some of the words in it. There's a little, like a 12-step recovery has so many little one-liners and things, and I know they're not all owned by 12. But that's where I learned them, and that's where I hear them tossed around a lot, of uh, uncover and discover, uncover, and what is it? But it goes right along what you're saying about, most of what I was doing was getting off of me who I was not.
right.
Not really who I was. I wasn't giving up who I was. I was taking off of me who I wasn't. And that's that uncovering and rediscovering who I really was. Because for a while I didn't, and I think we're all that way, whether if you're a drug alcoholic or whatever, it's just a part of maturation and growing up and figuring out that, hey, this ain't working no more, or surely this could be, one of my other lines is surely there's got to be more to life than this, because you kind of hinted at that earlier. If this is what it's going to be, I'm not so sure I'm in.
Yeah.
Uh, I need a little bit more positivity, a little bit more into the rainbow kind of thing to be looking at and keeping that positive outlook. Similar to you were saying too earlier about like our way we think. One little simple channel I change on a guy when I first meet him is he will say stuff like, I have to go to work or I have to pick up my kids. And I instantly kind of known as saying, no, you get to. You get to go
Yeah.
to work. Not everybody has a job. You have one. You get to go to work. You have your kids. You get to go pick them up. It's not a have to.
Yeah.
Change that way of going about what I'm doing. And those little tweaks make a big difference in the long run when you start changing that way you're thinking.
Yeah. And even to the point of like being covered up to something where we're not like it's my belief that kids are as free as can be. It's like all of us as when we were little, we were kids. Like there's even a quote in the Bible that says, be childlike to reach the kingdom of heaven. And one of the things, one of the meanings I believe it has is like, okay, I'll say me. When I was a child, I was free to just explore, just do anything I wanted. And I believed I could do everything. People would even tell me, you could be whatever you want to be. But then you start putting on these things that they call reality, but it's just another belief system. Like, no, you can't do this. You have to live this way. It's cool to be this way. It's uncool to be this way. And we stop ourselves. But when you ask any kid, like, to do a cartwheel, they're gonna say, yes, I can do a cartwheel. It's a crappy cartwheel from us being judgmental, but they believe that they can do it, and if they continue to do it, they'll do great. But if they're told, "Oh, that sucks," then they might not ever do it again. And that's how we stop ourselves and become something we're not.
Yeah, yeah, we get I like to say like that, I believe we are born pure and perfect basically. When you come out and you're a little baby, there's nothing, I mean, yeah, there's exceptions, right? But
Yeah.
so you go talk to a 3 or 4 year old, most of the time, unless something has happened to them, just and what I like to say is their spirit gets stepped on.
Yeah.
And we do. We'll get it by peer pressure in school, people telling you that you're not cool, or because you're not like this, you're not okay. And in order to be cool, you got to be like this, and all the various kinds of stuff that ends up starting to step on our spirits. But you catch a kid that's like hasn't had that happen yet, and they're just as happy-go-lucky as anything that you will ever meet in this world. I remember thinking I could jump off the roof with an umbrella and float down. You put on a cape, man, I'm gonna be flying in a little bit. You wait, I'm practicing. Uh,
Yeah, right. Even that, like, there's so many things that I jumped off of as a kid that I wasn't hurt, but like I wouldn't do that now because of all the beliefs that I took on. But I was jumping off platforms way taller than me, double my size, and I was all right. I didn't tell my mom, of course, but like we did that kind of stuff because we believed it, and there was no one to counteract our belief system all the time to allow us to do stuff. So it's interesting.
Yeah, even at some points, I'd say, I could jump off this roof, and other kids would say, "No, you can't. No, you watch me," and I would. This house that I live now in the house I grew up in. We moved here when I was 3 years old. I grew up in here, and then went away and got married and had kids and all that, and then ended up buying mom and dad's house back again. So there's a lot of things. When you come back to living at home again, that memories and stuff, and there's one particular end of the house over there that there's a little hill coming up, so it ain't quite as far as jumping all the way down,
Yeah.
so you could tell somebody, I can jump off this roof, and they'd look up there and they go, no, you can't, and you walk over there and you jump off the roof where the ground's a little higher, and you go,
Yeah.
yes, see, I did it. But yeah, that and part of in the way we talk about recovery is partly is trying to get back to that kind of mindset of where I'm a little bit, a true freedom in my life, where I am free to be who I want, who I am, and not worry about judgment of other people. be free to have those kinds of dreams that, because today I kind of look at myself in a way as like a child moving through the world and kind of peeking around the corner. One of the things I visualize is like as a little kid, I had a really good childhood, and I remember coming around the corner on Christmas morning, looking at the tree and the gifts under it, and being that little kid just so excited about the gifts that were under the tree. And now I kind of bend that around and I'm kind of moved through my world like that, peeking around the next corner about, okay, what's going to happen around this corner?
Yeah.
And instead of being scared about what's being around the corner, being excited and optimistic. And it tends to be, I continually be, I think I heard you echo this a little bit ago. I continue to be like almost surprised, like, oh, wow, pinch me. Oh, you can't, really, this is happening?
Yeah.
That just happened to me. I just got to experience that, whatever these things are that just ends up time after time after time, it keeps on rolling like that.
Yeah.
Been very fortunate. And I notice that people that live like that tend to, we tend to put that, and I have that limiting belief in a sense that, I can't totally put down that other shoe dropping thing. Like when is
Yeah.
this, when,
Yeah.
when, but I try to fight it. It's not a fight though. That's the other thing. And that's something that goes along with recovery is a lot of people say you have to fight to stay sober every day. And that's not been my experience. It was a battle for a while, but after practicing, and you said that the habits become beliefs,
Yeah.
and after a while, that actually can be that, and it's not a battle every day. And I think if you would tell people that are like in early recovery, and you put that out there, that you're gonna this this is gonna be hard the rest of your life. It's like, well, why am I doing that?
Yeah.
Give me a beer.
Yeah.
Heck with that. I don't want this to be hard the rest of my life. And my experience is it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I love that because I'm the same way. Like even like the book I mentioned, A Course in Miracles, is a thick book. It's not an easy read at all, and a lot of people have a hard time. But I remember when I started, I said, I'm going to understand this book. Like I don't care what happens, I'm going to find a way to understand this book, and I did, and I'm able to help people understand it. But it's the only difference between me and them is they said to themselves, "This is a tough book to read, and I'm never going to get it." Yeah,
I've been up against it a couple of times and peaked in it, and I've been, I don't know what, just traveling these circles where I've opened myself to, I'm a yoga teacher. If you'd have told me I was a yoga teacher 10 years ago, I'd punch you in the nose because you called me a sissy, you know, and I don't have that belief anymore, man. I'm proud of that. And that Course in Miracles book, I've bumped into it a number of times in various ways, and even had some opportunities to do some courses, but I've been intimidated by it, to be honest.
yeah. Real quick, I took yoga this morning. I go every Tuesday, and same way. Like if somebody said you would be doing yoga, like no, I'm no way. Yeah,
Yeah, I even, I'm in yoga pants and every whole shooting match, and I'm signed up to go 6:30 tonight.
yeah,
I never really taught much, but I did go to teacher training, and it was a highlight. I've had it's another one of those opportunities, that how I got into yoga was a girl tricked me into it, and it was a hour and a half deal, and it was 45 minutes of a 12-step meeting
uh,
and 45 minutes of yoga combined into one meeting. It was called
wow,
Y12SR. I think it's still out there and places still do it. I don't know of any of them going on here, but I walked out of there in love with yoga, and combining those two things has been great for me. And I've also been able to carry that to other people, that it's been beneficial to them. Another one of my little sayings is, like 12-step recovery did a lot for my mind and my spirit, but did nothing for my body. And those three pieces of that triangle, kind of like how often does that three come up?
yeah,
Uh, that if once I started actually taking care of my body, it made me feel better. And when I feel good, I'm not reaching for something else to make me feel good that ain't good for me. That was one of the things when I didn't feel good. So I would put something in me that I thought was making me feel good. And then I found something that really did make me feel good, and it made that other temptation drop off, so that I'm moving around and getting a little older and this kind of stuff, and I'm and I can do anything I want to do. My body stays in shape. I'm flexible. I'm doing all this stuff. I don't know if there's an exercise better than yoga.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's one of those things that it's a meditation, like because you're focusing on your breath, you're learning how to be calm in seemingly stressful situations, like, and you get to sit with yourself. Like a lot of people, they're doing, they don't get to just sit with themselves, and yoga allows that space and environment in every pose, every move, and yeah, it's here comes that science thing again. It's metaphysics where we get to be in touch with our beingness so that we can be with whatever we want to be, especially when we leave. Because nothing, I don't want to say nothing, but like after you hold certain poses for so long, it's easy to just walk out into the world like, oh, I can do anything. I'm not restricted by this tense pose, so to speak.
Yep. Yeah. That brings me to another thing. Yoga's also been a door to expose me to other things in that realm. Like a couple of weeks ago, I went to the yoga studio and the gal was putting on a 2 hour sound bath. And she had the big singing bowls, the big crystal bowls, and she played a flute and she sang to us. And and we didn't really do much. She put us in like long holding poses. When you'd first lay there, you'd think this isn't doing anything. She'd get you positioned, and I'm going, but after you lay there for 10 minutes or so and you start going, oh, now I feel it, and at the same time, these vibrations are moving through your body because you can feel those bowls. Where I'm going with that is like this thing about music too. And my guest last night and you again today, there's seems to be these little that vibration from music into you is something that as human beings we are attracted to. You can't really find anybody doesn't like music. They may like a different kind of music, uh, but that resonance, and I think that there is something to the frequency and the feeling, because you there's more to music than just hearing it.
Right. Yeah. I looked up some science behind that as well. Like and I could be misquoting, but there is a resonance with that, and it can heal people. Like they found with people with Alzheimer's, sometimes playing music kind of gets them back to themselves, and it just eases the tension. Because again, like we hold so much in that we don't realize we harden, we stiffen, and we need to be more loose and relaxed. And music, it vibrates through us in such a way that it's almost like it's shaking us, but it's just not in a harsh way. It's just a gentle shake, like, hey, there's more to expand. You don't have to be stuck in this way. Which is why, like, I think music by itself in any form with no lyrics is top tier, just period. But lyrics that adds an extra dimension, which you may have to be careful depending on where you are in your journey, what you listen to with lyrics.
Yeah, I like songs with words in them most of the time, because I like the message. Usually there's some message in that. And even when it's just nonsense, sometimes it's fun to have that too,
Yeah.
because it's fun. That's a playful type of spirit with that kind of that's kind of what I thought when you was talking about the old stuff you used to do about the ego driven kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It sounded to me more playful
I mean, it
than
was to a certain extent. Yeah.
than I'm better than you kind of energy. It was more of a playful spirit, and maybe that's partly because it was coming from your playful spirit that I can recognize too. Uh, but they use sound all the time to do stuff, break up kidney stones, and this kind of thing. Why wouldn't that music and that sound have that healing effect on your body? It makes perfect sense to me, and I've heard a lot of that stuff, like especially, and one of the thing that rang a bell with me was that like people who have Alzheimer's or dementia and stuff, they would like potentially, like if somebody was a loved one knew like some music that they liked a long time ago, they will put that kind of music on to like reel them back in time,
Yeah.
to almost rewind them a little bit and see some benefit from doing that. That's got to be one of the most awful things in the world, to have Alzheimer's or dementia or something. I've been lucky. I don't have any of that in my family, but I've had some experience with it a little bit, and I don't know. It's yeah,
So what's funny about that, like one of my biggest fears as a kid, I don't have any fears now that I know of, but one of my biggest fears was just forgetting, because life is great. And I was like, man, it'll suck to like if you die, you just forget everything. Like that's terrible. And I used to believe that. But what's interesting now, the more and more I'm rooted in the now moment, the more I see, like, again, the past just doesn't matter. Like, in some ways it can restrict you. Because I one of the changes was I realized I was bringing my past with me everywhere. I had these hangups, I had these traumas, like, you don't know what I've been through. This is blah blah blah, and as people say, and it's like, why this moment is perfect right here. Why bring all of that? And when you loosen the past, it's like you're freer. So being forgetful, it might not even be necessarily a bad thing. Like, we see it as a bad thing from this point of view, but again, we don't know how intense what they held on to as memories. Like, it could have been the worst of the worst that they lived 30 plus years, 40, 50, 60 plus years with. And that's actually a kindness that they forgotten it in a sense. So
Yeah,
it's just
right.
an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah. And at least maybe you can not, it doesn't weigh so much on you anymore. You know, these
Right.
things, that's what you see people that carry stuff as a real heavy load, you
Yeah.
know, and I've got some of that. And a lot of times with people, and I see, some stuff in here about healing trauma and that kind of thing. You know, we tend to, I don't think anybody escapes that. I don't, if you did, you snuck through a crack that most people don't get to sneak through. Because we've all had something, be it childhood bullying, or maybe you were the bully because of something was going on. And now, because I carried that, I got bullied. And then later on, I turned that around and I bullied other people, right? And I carried some grief in both respects from being bullied. And I also felt bad about myself because I did that, so I had it both sides of it that I was carrying, and doing healing work through the 12 steps and other things has caused that not to weigh so much. I've been able to forgive myself. I've done some work on going back and actually doing amends with people that I'd harmed and making things right there, so that I'll lighten that load. And now it's just an experience. It's not something that I'm dragging around with me like a dead body anymore. Um, because that's the way I kind of visualize it. Like
Yeah.
when I'm gonna have a resentment about you, or I'm gonna really be worried about you, whoever that is, I might as well just be throw you over my shoulder and be hauling you around with me. And I don't want to carry you around with me
Yeah.
all the time, man. You're heavy. I can't move as fast when I got you over my shoulder.
Yeah. Right. And I love that. Like, I always say that when we have a resentment with someone, we're pretty much giving them a lot of power because, again, like, you can be happy at a place, they walk in, your whole mood changes. And it's like, why let that happen? You're happy right now. Like, why is it that important to be mad at them that is more important than your happiness? And yeah, it's not.
Yeah, the 12 steps does a great job of for a lot of people of being able to process that stuff. And always think about, like, a lot of times another visualization is like them hats that got something hanging off of them, and they would hang the carrot in front of the donkeys and stuff and make them keep moving and stuff. Well, at some level, the past was sitting in front of me all the time, and no matter where I looked, there it was, and I could not move beyond it,
Yeah.
at one point in my life, and at some point I had to, some tools and stuff allowed me to turn the hat around backwards. And another buddy of mine said, well, take the hat off. Uh, so either one works.
Yeah.
But my point there is that, I let my past block me, and everywhere I went, there it was.
Yeah.
And I had to do some work around that in order to get that put where it belonged in the past, on a shelf someplace. And now and again, some of these things, sometimes it's a benefit for me to get them back out to help you. That I've
Yeah.
been through that too. Hey, I did that, and I've moved beyond it. And if I did, you can too.
Yeah.
But I do run into some people, good my in this realm of some people just cannot seem to let go. You just hear it's like broken record player. Every time you talk to them, it's the same thing. It's just,
And
like
my
for the
song Let
guy,
Go,
mom, 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 mom. He's like, man, are you ever going to put her down? You ever going to forgive her? Yeah, what she did to you was wrong. There's no doubt about that.
yeah.
But now it's your job is to put that where it belongs and move past it. It's sometimes that's, I don't know. Sometimes it seems like maybe that's somewhat of our burden in life is to, we're going to bump up against stuff. We're going to. and my job is to to move past it and not get over it's not exactly the right language, but you do, or else you're
Yeah.
just going to suffer. You're just going to continue to cause your own suffering.
And,
And
and
then,
to what you said, like that broken record, that's exactly what prompted my song Let Go, which is probably the most popular song I released. And it came from that place of once I saw how much I brought the past with me and how much it ruled over me, I saw it everywhere and everyone, and it was like, all you have to do is let that go. If you just let that go right now, you'll be 10 times happier. Then if you let go of the next thing, you'll be 100 times happier and more and more. And like we wear it really truly as a badge of honor. Like, nah, this is my trauma. You can't take this away from me. This happened. I will always remember. I'll never forget. And it's like, well, that's you you can't be shocked when you get tired all the time because you're lugging that, as you said, extra body around.
yep, yep, or you're drinking and drugging yourself to death because that helps you not think about it. And that I've had a couple people, I've got a lot of swings and misses too, and I've had one guy tell me, that he just could not stop drinking. This is just his cross to bear, and I'm like, no, I don't really, that, you're making it that. It doesn't have to be something you carry. There's a way beyond most things. You sometimes it takes more work than other times, but I don't think there's any obstacle you can't sidestep, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of times it's we do these things or we do these things like you said to numb us from that which we know we should look at, but for whatever reason we don't want to look at it. Like it's too we think it's going to be too painful. We think it's going to be extra traumatic, and it's not really that bad once we look at it, but we I don't know. It's almost like we don't always allow ourselves to just again sit with ourselves and just see it for what it really is. And even I hate to say it, but I don't hate to say it, the benefit it plays because a lot of times those traumatic things or bad things were actually one of the best things that could have happened to us. No, we wouldn't want to go through it ever again, but
No.
just having that experience, it allowed for so many more things and understanding and relating to others and everything.
Yeah, yeah. I stood in front of a judge here in my hometown that said, Mr. Reeves, the sentencing guidelines for the crimes you have committed is 6 to 20 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections. I don't ever want to do that again, but it jerked a knot in my tail and caused me to change my trajectory. I never spent a day in jail.
Wow.
Uh, and I did some work, and I believe in God. I believe in that when you're on the path, when your intentions are set, you'll be given. I was seemed to be given this help. It didn't make any sense. The only thing I don't have anything else to chalk it up to than that. It had, what else was it besides some sort of higher power, God, something of that nature? And at that time, I didn't understand it, but that was the only thing I could lay. And then as I kept on progressing, the evidence kept piling up so deep that I couldn't deny it any longer. And but my point there is that were what looked like the worst thing could ever happen to me turned out to be the best thing. I heard another guy say, the gold you're looking for is in the dragon's cave, and you're going to have to go face the dragon to
Yeah.
get to the gold.
Yeah.
That's like a parable of the old stories, and there's a million of those stories in the Bible, and various other, even fairy tales have those type of lessons in them. And, lessons, those stories and that stuff wouldn't stick around this long if it wasn't true.
Right.
Stuff that's not true doesn't stick around.
Yeah. In A Course in Miracles, there's an exercise that it has people do, like for forgiveness. It's pretty much like where you kind of sit in meditation, relax, think of all the love you can, and you would place the person you have a grievance with in that divine loving light.
Mhm.
And what's first of all, what's funny about that is the hesitancy when I first started doing this to actually place them in there because it's like they don't deserve this. I don't want to put them in there. But I recognize the irony of it. Like it's me that's holding them apart from being free in a sense. Like it's me, it's my fault, not them. Whatever they did, okay, they did it. But right now, today, it's me stopping them. So I have to be willing to do this. But 100% of the time when I've done it, something happened where it either brought me closer to that person or they would call me out of the blue. This could be people I haven't talked to in 10 plus years. They would call me out of the blue and apologize. And it's like, they didn't know I did this. Like, what's happening? But that energy of that oneness of what we create, the world we shape, we're all connected and we don't realize it. So a lot of times, again, our grievances are just what we're bringing to the situation. It has nothing to do with who they are or what they did. It's within, and that light allows us to see things clearly.
Yeah, it's that old deal, drinking poison, hoping the other person will die. It's
Yeah,
that philosophy, and when we do amends, a lot of times, we start out doing some really lightweight amends, stuff that doesn't really matter, you know. And if you didn't do them, would you, they're probably not the kinds of things your sobriety hinges on or your happiness hinges on, but it's a starting point, right? So I'm gonna go do it, and then the momentum that will start happening with that. And what I like what you're saying, like, and it's all the time, somebody can't find somebody that they need to do amends with and they can't locate them, and as crazy as the connections are today, there's still people that you can't figure out where they're at. And, and time after time, man, they will be at the grocery store and turn the aisle and there's this person, or they'll be at a fair or a festival or, and God, I'll just keep on saying that. You know, I'm a long way from beginning to try to convince people I know, right? Because I'm better off not,
yeah,
not, I don't really know, but I know something has happened, but God will put these people in their path as that momentum begins to build. And I've watched so much healing and in my own, whenever I was breaking in houses, stealing pain pills is what I got trouble for whenever that judge was saying it. And
okay,
in my last house, the guy had laid in wait and I'd been there before and he caught me with pepper spray and a baseball bat and lit into me pretty good. And I got away. And there was an EPO between me and him and his family and stuff, emergency protective order, where I couldn't be around him, for 3 years.
yeah,
And and God somehow or another put that dude in my path after the 3 years was over. And I had done the amends work, the prep work, and that's another thing we do. I prepped it, and I knew it. So I visualized like I had it in my hip pocket, so I wasn't caught with my pants down when it was time to come. And, and this guy, the whole time we had this exchange and we're in two men, two grown men shedding tears with one another. This guy was scared he was going to get in trouble for what he did to me. This whole time he's been worried. He's been carrying that this boomerang is going to come back on me one day because he knows he really shouldn't have laid into me with a baseball bat and a pepper spray. Uh, I wasn't there harming anybody. I wasn't
right,
violent. I wasn't with a gun. I wasn't with weapons. I wasn't doing any of that. But it's interesting to watch that release happen on both sides of the street. I got clear with him and he got clear with me. And then we end up having a bond where we're now, friends. Where at this point in time, to be from that point where you're doing what I was doing and he was doing what he was doing to where we're at today, those are miracles.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I have a list in my phone. I call it a miracle list, and I try to jot these things down that when they happen, these cool little things. It's like a long-term gratitude list
yeah,
that I can go back and when I think God's stopped me at the last bus stop, sometimes when I get that goofy thought, I can pull that up and read it. And it reminds me that no, these things, God's still on my side, he
yeah,
ain't dropped me off yet. And I can go back and look at those things. And there's a bunch of beautiful stories in there that I would forget. Something will prod me to remember it once in a while, but it doesn't sit at the front of my consciousness anymore. But having that list allows me to go back and revisit that stuff and almost refeel it in the good ways
yeah,
today instead of going back and refeeling the bad stuff.
yeah. So I love that story. I really do. And something a way that I can relate a bit is so I used to play basketball every Sunday, and this was back like right before COVID. I was uh I was playing against this guy and we were just talking stuff. He was talking stuff, so I met him where he was at. We were going back and forth. I'm from Chicago, he's from Philly, just to play some identities on us. So we're going at it. He has me by like 6 inches in height, and but I'm stopping them too. Like I'm able to stop them. And so something happened where I came down. I think I might have accidentally elbowed him, and because the tension was so high, he, ran up and looked down on me. We were about to fight. Like you just know when it's about to happen. I am a black belt in Taekwondo, so my first thought, and if I'm being honest, was okay, if I sweep the leg, I can knock him down. I can hit him real quick, knock him out maybe, and then leave and never come back to this court again. Because again, like you don't know who people know, you don't know the retaliation. But this was around the time when I was really learning A Course in Miracles. Like I had the knowledge, I just didn't embody it fully yet. I was teaching people, I was sharing it, but I never I couldn't say that I fully embodied it. And I was like, dang, okay, if this is really true, if truth is love, I have to be willing to bring it to this moment. So I had looked at him with all the love I could muster. And in that moment, like again, it was almost in slow motion, but it happened in a second. Anything could happen. He could have just knocked me out real quick. Everybody pointed and laughed. Like all of this is at play. I could have got hurt because I didn't have my guard up or anything. As soon as I brought that love to it, he said, "You know what? I'm getting too serious. I'm gonna check myself out of the game." And he did. And
Mm.
ever since then, we've been cool. He jokingly calls me the most positive man he knows. Like it's all love every time. We still might talk a little stuff, but it's all love. And it's amazing like how we can bring that to every situation. Like that was enough to make me a believer. I brought that to any perceived argument. Like if a real disagreement was coming up, I just pause and bring that love to the situation. And again, 100% of the time, it dissolves everything.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right, man. Because that's it. Otherwise, the flip side of that is escalating stuff, and that's just going to continue with that energy going. And that's fun when you're playing ball, and some of that competitive and some stuff talking back and forth, and it's dudes, and we do that kind of stuff. But we do things can turn on a dime, man, inches and seconds kind of stuff. And if it, if you keep your head and you show up with the plate of love, almost nobody can deny that.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to continue. It's like you said, 100% of time, people are not going to continue to escalate it when that's what you're bringing to the table. It's the same thing in these amends and stuff of going when you show up on bended knee, so to speak, owning what you did wrong. There's like almost nobody that says, "Get the hell out of here. I don't want to
Yeah.
see you again." We think it's going to. We think it's going to be that they're going to say, "Pound sand. I don't care." But they don't. They always it melts almost every heart. It does that. Another one of my favorite things from the guy who said the thing about the sloshing the love all over everybody is that he says he holds his heart was covered in ice at one point, and he held that up to the sunshine of the spirit,
Yeah.
and that sunshine, that light melted that ice. And that metaphor works most of the time whenever we get into something that looks like is looking like it's going south. If and ultimately, I'm called to be the bigger man.
Yeah.
Not to say you're not, right? Because my territory is my territory, you know, and I got to own that. So it's not that I'm saying I'm bigger than you or better than you,
Right.
but inside myself, I'm called to be that loving spirit, not the opposite.
Yeah.
As long as
It,
I keep on carrying that spirit with me, man, things just tend to keep working out.
what's funny about the story you shared about the guy who you're friends with now, like they say that everything is a mirror to everything else. Like again, that which we bring to the situation is reflected back to us. It's interesting to me, and it just clicked now that like he was carrying a version of what you were carrying, and it brought you guys together. But that's probably everyone in existence. Like anything I carry toward a person, they probably carry a version of that toward me as well. And so that's why when we forgive, when we let go, we can then come back together with none of that stuff that we're both holding.
Yeah. Yeah. This particular guy, this is another little story. We all, Somebody turned me on to him. There's AA speakers out on the internet. They do talks and they carry their messages and stuff. And I've been listening to this guy for 15 years or so, and he's nothing but an internet voice to me, but I could hear him, and you've probably got people in your life, you hear those frequencies that they speak, and somebody else might say they almost exactly the same thing, and you just really don't hear them. But I hear this person. And I could hear Scott, and one day somebody put me to where I got in contact with him, and I invited him to be on my podcast, and he said yes. So then here I got, and then like he was like, uh, well, my analogy is like if I'm a high school quarterback and I get Tom Brady calls me on the phone, wants to know if I want to pitch the ball around. That kind of energy, and he come here, he spent the weekend with me or spent a few days with me not too long ago. I took him fishing. He's 80, like 4 years old now. Took him out in a canoe in my little favorite river, and we went fishing, catching fish, and had a good time all day. And this guy that used to be like this internet idol to me in a sense is now a friend of mine, and it's another one of these, it's on my miracle list. It's like
Yeah.
I get say, I know this guy. I call him on the phone. He calls me on the telephone. There's nothing, and for a while it was a little surreal to
Yeah.
look down and see that man's name on my telephone calling me. Like, wow, and he carries himself. He's just one of them dudes that just carries himself in the way that, I know that some people like that. We say in recovery that you've got what I want.
Yeah.
That aura that you carry, that's the man I want to be. I want that. I want to be known as that guy that's almost as you know my dad somehow or another is one of them dudes that just is like liked by everybody, and he always tends to make the next right move without thinking about it, over and over. Now, you know that didn't stop me from becoming a drug addict or an alcoholic either. Having that role model. A lot of guys have poor role models, that end up in my thing. But I hit the jackpot in the dad department. Remember, he lives with me. He's downstairs. He's 88 years old. And now I get to do something for him back of giving him a nice, loving place to live. When he's not in some home or living by himself someplace. My son lives here too, so the three of us, three generations.
Yeah.
I tell people, you come over to my house, you can tell this place ain't had a feminine touch in a long time. Uh, but Dad was one of those guys, and Scott's one of those guys, and I've been lucky to meet these people, and there's a sense I get, a feeling. You know what that ASMR is?
Yes.
And I don't really know if I'm right. But like I get these tingles in the back of my neck, and like when I was laying there with that sound bath and that lady was playing, I get those tingles. The lady last night on the podcast she played on her piano and she sang me a song, and I'm just purring like a kitten. Such a great song, man. It'll be out, and she had pulled a man, and I wish I had it here, but had pulled some the one of those Sufi, like, darn, what was his name? But he has a big saying about the light that you have, you don't see. I hope it someday you can see. It's a person that's in darkness,
Hmm.
and the wishing through the song is that, that the light that is in you, you will see it, that it'll come on for you again. Because we all do tend to have those kind of moments, and it's a really uplifting song. And I'm sitting here listening to her talk, but I run into people like that at times, and and I do it here in the podcast. Like I can feel you.
Yeah.
I
Same.
can feel that you're real and that you're, the goodness in you, that you're carrying this light, and I can see the light in you. And it's so cool to have that, because it's never was something that I looked for nor knew was real. When I was fogged up, you thought you was having a good time, and I was with guys who would, I love you, man. But now I actually tell a guy I love him and I mean it,
Yeah.
and it's not that stuff. It's true, real love amongst my fellows, and without having that darkness that I had go through at one point, I don't know that I'd ever found this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's true. And that's so profound. Like, yeah, it's this stuff happens to us, not happens to it, but it happens for us just in a way for us to really see our own light, to experience like, okay, if I'm light, if I'm in heaven and we come from God and I'm light, I can do all things. That's great, but what does that mean? That means nothing because everything is like that. And we come here in a sense to experience the physical and the other sides of the coin, that it's like, oh, okay. I am great. Everyone is great. This is beautiful. Everyone should know this. Hey, you're great. Like it's and that's kind of where I'm coming from too. Like once you see that light, you want to help everyone else see that light. You don't want to just hold that to yourself, and
Yeah,
it
because it's no
makes
good
life
to
worth
keep it for
living.
yourself. You got to share it. You got to, and that's what happened. Some men showed me there's a old AA guy that wrote a book called A New Pair of Glasses. And that's kind of what these guys did for me. They gave me a new way of looking at things, and I wasn't seeing them right. You get like, and I even joke, they even give me some hearing aids too, because I needed that as well, and I have a whole different perception of what's going on around me that I was blind to at one point. It was there the whole time, but I had to have somebody like point it out to me to change my perception of what I was seeing. Damn, maybe it ain't really that. Maybe it's this. And you go, huh, I didn't think about it that way,
Yeah.
and it used to be that my sponsor would say to me, he'd go, you know what that is, don't you? When I would tell him something, and that was like I have a few of the stories, but he'd say, you know what that is? And for a while I was one said, well, yeah, it's this. And I learned that the correct answer was no. Why don't you tell me?
Yeah.
No, because I'm not seeing something here when that line is being dropped on me. You know what that is, don't you? And it was kind of a little tagline thing that we did for a long time. And now it's my job to do the same thing
Yeah.
to others that come in my path. And it is nothing better than to be in that position where you get to like reach your hand out and help another guy up out of the hole. Um, there's another old thing about the preacher and the this and that, and the guys down in a hole, and people are going, "Hey, I'll go get you a ladder. I'll be back," and they leave and they don't come back, and somebody else says, "Well, if you just kind of reach up there and grab and roots and pull yourself up out of there, I think you can get yourself out of there." And this particular joke goes that a guy come by who was and the way this plays out is that's an alcoholic down in the hole, and another alcoholic comes by and jumps down in the hole with him.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
that's the guy, everybody else
Yeah.
is like giving you direction on what you need to do. And in our world, what we do is we get down in the hole with you, man. We'll climb up out of this thing together.
Yeah. I heard something. It's not. It's a similar joke, but it's not the same. But it kind of is about like God, where like it's a big flood coming, and the town. They're like, "Hey, you need to leave. You need to leave the house because it's about to flood." And he said, "No, God's gonna save me." And then the water gets a little higher. Somebody comes by on the boat. Hey, come on, we need to get out of here. Like the flood's coming. You're gonna die. Like no. God's gonna save me. And then so now the water is rising higher. The person is on the roof. A helicopter comes by. Hey, here's a ladder. Climb up. Join. Come to the helicopter. No, no, no. I'm fine. God is gonna save me. So then the person dies, gets to heaven. Say, God, why didn't you save me? Say, I brought you the car, the boat, the helicopter. You didn't take any of it. And yeah, like we get so caught up in our beliefs that everything is always there. We just don't choose to see it.
Yep. Yeah, like another one of the things I like to say, and it ain't always this way, but most of the time, God shows up with me in shoe leather. It's another person a lot
Yeah.
of times, I'm looking for the burning bush or the big miracle drops out of the sky kind of thing. And majority of the time it's my fellows that are proven to me that point that's showing up for me, just like those people were showing up for the guy who's not going to survive that flood.
Yeah, and also like you said, like some people they just have, I mean, you have their ear. Like you hear them say it and it just clicks. No matter, even though it's written on the wall everywhere, you see it all, you read it all the time, but that person just it just clicks and it's just I understand that fully.
Yeah, and I know that music does that specifically in a way that that not a lot of things do, because we can, like podcasts and all this stuff that's going on today, all this, and that's what I digest more than anything else is spoken word.
Yeah.
Either listening to books, listening to people talk on podcasts. I tend to cultivate my stuff to where it's people that, stuff I want to listen to, the people who are shining light rather than dark and that kind of thing. But music can speak to you in a way that spoken word won't.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's probably some of what you're experiencing with your music, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, two things on that. So one,
I had a friend tell me, like with the same song, Let Go. And she's like, yeah, I listen to it, every day. I used to wake up to it daily for months. And she said she was 4 months in and she would hear something new that helped her. And like that I can't lie, that did make me feel good. But at the same time, some of my songs do that for me, which lets me know that I'm tapping into something greater than myself because it wouldn't make any sense for this to come into my experience at the right time and I didn't even hear it that way. Like, this is amazing. Like, where did this come? I didn't even realize this. And it's music does that because I feel like spirit allows something to just pop in your head. Like, there's never a coincidence that a song is in your head at this moment. It's because there's something there if you will pay attention to it.
Yeah, yeah. We that buddy Scott, AA guy, he's talks about, we read the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, right? And he will joke around about wet ink in there. There's something there's here. I'm reading. This was not in here yesterday. Somebody snuck in here last night and tuned up my book because I don't remember it saying that yesterday. And life can be that way too. You hear stuff and something all of a sudden, boom. I'll tell you what happens a lot, and it's almost a joke, is that people will get sober and then like all the music sounds like recovery music all of a sudden. It's like stuff that they wouldn't like. And I'll tell you one band that did that to me to some extent that I never really liked was the Grateful Dead. I associated the Grateful Dead with the drug addicts and stuff, and I was one, but I had some block, that like I couldn't access that music. Maybe because of the mirror thing or something. I was and I couldn't. And then I got sober and I listened to it and I'm like, this music's mostly about love. This music is not what I thought it was. And we have that all the time. It's almost I smile because I get on the phone with somebody and I'll go, man, I was listening to this song today, man. I've listened to it 100 times, and today I heard, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, cool. And that's also the sign that you can see where these people are growing. They're getting it. They're making those little incremental steps to improving their lives, which is going to have that ripple effect. It's going to improve the lives of the people that they're in contact with, their kids, their parents, their spouses, their coworkers. And and when somebody makes that change, we think that it's just happened. I'm real happy that it's happening for me, right? But I totally discount the fact that because I'm getting better, it's easing the burden on a lot of other people too.
Yeah.
And it's not even if I'm damaging, that's not even it. You don't even have to be making damage when you're improving yourself. Uh, that starts helping the people around you, and
Yeah.
that's one of Grateful Dead songs. That ripple is one of the songs. That ripple effect, we use it all the time, like throwing a rock in a pebble in a pond, and that ripple effect goes out through our communities and has real impact. With you or I can't save the world. I don't think we might, but I don't think so. But what we can do is have this impact on our peripheral,
Yeah.
and then that periphery can reach out and have impact on another, and that can change the world,
Yeah.
and we need it.
I'll say this real quick too about saving the world. So like when I think of saving now, I think of like on a computer file. You have a document, you click save, you save it in its current state. And oftentimes when we think of a savior like Superman, he's usually saving someone who thinks that they can't save themselves. And
Mhm.
so when you think of yourself as a savior, you're stopping everyone else from really being who they are. Like stepping into the identity like, no, it's nothing even to be worried about. You're going to be all right. You just need to see this for yourself. And we're keeping people in their weak state by thinking like you need a savior or somebody come save us. And it's like, no, we don't need to save the world. Let the world be like so the world can see how powerful the world is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that out quite often, in ours. I know and I've had to grow into that is that there was a point in time when I wanted to help these guys more than I should. And thankfully I had a man that was like watching over me, was like saying, no, allow that person to have their journey, and allow them to find their faith and to find their way. Because you can't do it for them. And actually sometimes when you like over help, you actually are harming them. You're not helping them get to where they need to be by helping them too much. And it's an interesting dynamic in all that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to. We've been on here an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh,
Time
wow.
flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Uh, and I can talk for when I'm with somebody like that, man, I can talk forever. We sit and
Same.
we go sit in a coffee shop and end up 2 in the morning and stuff sometimes going, oh man, I gotta go home, dude.
Yeah.
I gotta get up in the morning. Uh, anything particular you want to share?
Um, well, yeah, I guess I should do the promo thing. I have a new album out called "It Just Feels Good." It's my second album of this spiritual nature. It's more helping you to realize the little nuances that might stop you from stepping into happiness and joy. And some just celebrate that happiness and joy. So you can just sit back in it. Every lyric is curated in such a way that you don't have to have your guard up to say, "Hey, can I let this message in? Can I, is this something I want in my psyche?" It's something that you can just relax into and listen to and enjoy.
Yeah. Do you play music?
Well, I used to. I play the piano a little bit. I used to be heavy on the alto saxophone.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I used to play in jazz
But you're
clubs and stuff as a
but you're
teenager.
both
But
you're mostly just the vocals.
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Right.
I'm just the vocals now. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
still
I
kind of
don't
mix
mean
and master.
just, I just, you know,
Oh yeah.
people I just was curious.
Oh yeah,
A
yeah,
lot of times, yeah, I'm blown away by how many people I know that are like musicians that I had no idea. These guys that are these drug addict alcoholics under the covers, and it usually gets covered up. It's buried underneath of there, and they get sober, and then they say, I'm sitting around a campfire with them, and they're playing. They get the guitar out of the trunk that they probably pawned their last one, and now they got another one, and to listen to them play, and it's just it's music is there's something about it that I don't understand. It's never been around me too much, and
yeah,
I got one cousin that's a fantastic guitarist, like blues rock guitarist, and but other than that, I don't have it. And I know that other families, and the gal I was talking to last night, her whole family were singers and musicians. So she was absorbed in it,
yeah,
and then it's natural that I could see her uh, doing what she's doing. But
yeah,
it's not ever been a thing that I've entertained and really been, it's just the path, that
yeah.
hasn't been that. Where do you find that music?
Oh, everywhere. Well, my website is jclay.org, but it's on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, everywhere where music you can stream it, or you can get the physical CD, which I sell on my website as well.
Okay. So it's jclay.org. I don't
Right.
see that on my paper here. I didn't print everything out. And I do have a handful of links that yeah, sometimes you contact me, and that's the you. And sometimes you've got somebody that contacts me. I always had to look down to make sure which one it was. But whoever this was, and I cut off it says warm regards at the bottom, and I didn't print, I just printed the important part. So
Yeah.
I
Probably
didn't.
Allie. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I always say it's people's handlers. Uh, they, they,
Yeah. Yeah.
they
She's
come.
she's very helpful. It makes it easier and
Yeah,
things.
I get it. Yeah. So I'm the guy on this side of it all the time. I don't ever have anything like to talk about, but I know most people that come to me are coming out with something new, be it a book or a program or some kind of something, some light they're putting out into the world. And that's what I feel like my role is here is to help these other people shine their lights while I continue to shine mine. And I get to meet all these people that I just simply say are forces for the good.
Yeah, but I will say, just from talking to you, you have a lot of light to give and a lot of things to share, a lot of wisdom. So I would say if you feel called, definitely be on the other side of this as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, man. It was great talking to you. Great to get to know you a little bit. Again, I call myself a New Albany hillbilly. I'm in this little town in southern Indiana, and now I'm having people come from all over the country and all over the world bringing their light, their brand of light, and I get to get it shined on me a little bit. And this is the way I get high today, right here.
Yeah.
Because my countenance will be up here. So it does. I can tell you how many times I come sit down at this table or however it is. Sometimes people come to my house and we do it face to face. That I'm feeling, it's funny. It's lots of times I'm feeling like a little down at the moment when I'm starting it. I'm a little bit like, come on, Dan, pump yourself up a little bit. But then once we get to rolling, then it just automatically happens, and then I'll carry that energy with me to the for the you know for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, same way. Like when I do podcasts or when I perform music,
I
there's
bet.
a high afterwards that just and it's for hours. It just carries on. You just like, why am I so happy? And you just are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be that way. I get opportunities to speak once in a while in front of people in recovery rooms and stuff like that. And there's a high that comes off of that too. There's something cool about having a whole lot of people focused on you. It's like, hey, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think we absorb their their energy out there. They're for the most part engaged with you, so they're putting energy into
Yeah.
you, and it's a big energy exchange going on as you're giving your energy out. They're bringing
Yeah.
your energy, and it's just like a volcano happens, and it's cool.
Yeah.
People out there don't miss this because you can have it too. Whatever
Yeah.
brand that you're bringing to the table, there's some reason you're here, and our job is to find that, I think.
I
All right,
agree.
man. Well, have a great rest of your day. And I put these things out. I don't wait, so it'll be a matter of a few days, and I'll kick
Okay.
these links back out. I'll tell you that little quick story. A long time ago, I was on. Somebody asked me to be on their podcast, and I just happened to I just casually said, about when do you think this will be out?" And they said, probably about 3 months." And I thought, this will be old news by then. And some of that stuff made me say, you know what? I'm gonna do just when these things come, when I'm gonna be timely in my podcast releases. I'm not gonna worry about um, pacing it out there. I like to turn it around.
Yeah. And I tell people too sometimes on podcasts, like anything I say, if I say it, I said it. You don't have to cut anything out. It's just
Yeah, I
it's
don't
what
do
you
any editing either, man. I
yeah.
don't. I clip off our little small talk at the front, and I may do a little bending at the end to to make clip off what seems to be a little bit on that end. But yeah, man, I don't want to edit.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah.
All right. Well, have a great evening. Appreciate getting to know you, man. And you'll be I guess I'll probably be replying. Is it Allie? I think I see maybe.
Ali. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll send this stuff to her.
Cool.
Sure
Thanks.
she'll get it to you.
Yeah.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right. You too.
Thank you for carrying your light.
Thank you. You as
Bye
well.
bye.